Hello, and thank you for joining us here for another episode of the Uncharted Podcast, your home for nonprofit data talk, donor management tools and updates, and financial integrations. My name is Jeremy, and I'm joined, as always, with my partner in crime, Summer. Summer, how are you?
Doing well. How are you, Jeremy?
I am doing well. I don't know if a podcast can be canceled, but we've made it to number 2, so that's a good sign, right?
We're here. We're doing it.
We're here. Yeah. One thing I thought would be cool, just as our listeners start to know us, just kind of sharing a personal fact. And we're going to have guests on, and we're going to encourage them to do that as well. We will not strong arm anyone into sharing things they're not comfortable with. But interesting personal fact about you. Why don't you go first?
Sure. So kind of keeping off the theme from last podcast, just talking about my work history. I used to be a bounty hunter.
Be a bounty hunter,
Yes.
like Boba Fett in the house. I'm dating myself with a Star Wars reference, maybe. That's
No,
cool. How did that go?
Boba Fett would have been cool. That's not real world bounty hunting.
Oh, dang.
It was nothing like I expected. My husband actually just made fun of me. Have you ever seen Dog the Bounty Hunter, like way back in the day?
Yeah.
I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I wanted to be a bounty hunter because I used to watch Dog. He's like, wow. Okay. Like, I don't know. I was a kid. I thought it was cool. So yeah, it was real early. I don't know if I was 21 yet. Because like there was some things I couldn't even do because I wasn't 21. But yeah, I went to the cities in Minnesota and I got trained and worked with a company out there for a while. I think I did it for like a year and a half. And it was honestly just a lot of paperwork and training. I didn't even really get out into the field by myself.
Oh. I was hoping for a racy story or something, but that's still pretty cool.
The scariest one was we actually had to go onto the reservation. And I don't know if you've been on a reservation, but it's terrifying because there's no
a whole new world.
Yeah, like they have their own laws and everything out there. So like one, bounty hunters really don't have a ton of authority as it is, but especially not there. So we notified the tribal police that we were there, that we were looking for someone. But like if something happened out there, like you've got no backup, you've got nothing. So I'm like, okay. So we just sat on this house for a little while and just waited to see if the guy came out or if anyone came out that we could ask if they knew where he was. And yeah, we were there for longer than I was comfortable. I want to say it was like a 6 to 8 hour day.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't think I have anything to compete with that, but I'll try. Quick one for me. So I have 2 teenage boys, both of which are obsessed with their sports. My oldest has the most gorgeous mane of curly blonde hair and is a soccer goalkeeper through and through. So crazy, short memory that you need to have in that role, and does an amazing job. And then my youngest is a male gymnast and completely dedicated to that sport. So spends 20 to 24 hours a week in the gym. And right now making our podcast recording schedule interesting because it's go time. So we have meets almost every weekend and traveling all over the place to do that, and keeps me out of trouble.
Good.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into the theme of the episode. So we kind of just set the stage last time, right? And really the next obvious step here that we feel is, now the background of kind of what we're going to talk about, but the next one would be kind of when is your nonprofit ready for a CRM, right? And kind of digging into that. Or if you're at a place where you're outgrowing your CRM or need something more powerful. And we have some interesting topics to talk about. Anything kind of set that up on your side?
No, I think we'll just go over kind of some broad overview and drill down a little bit, but it's just kind of the beginning episode of it.
Right. And we can't, every organization's different, like we know, so we can't get uber granular with this, but hope to provide at least a good overview on major topics and major initiatives or steps in the process that you need to look at. And to do that, I'm excited. We're going to do a regular segment here on that I called the Giving Gauntlet, right? And I've done this before, but it tends to first make people nervous and also get people out of their comfort zone, and we can have some fun. So what this is going to be 10 questions that I'm going to grill Summer on this time, and we're going to do this with our guests in the future, and I hope you all enjoy it. But 10 questions that are going to help kind of drive conversation and things we want to talk about, but also a couple of just random shenanigan questions in there, some pop culture references, things like that, but really to help us make this interesting and also get to the crux of what we're really trying to talk about. So, Summer, are you ready for our inaugural Giving Gauntlet?
I am ready, and I am nervous.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be. It gets you out of your shell. All right, let's get it some time on the clock, and let's get started. All right, number one. This cylindrical structure is where Farmer Joe stores the feed for his livestock.
A silo.
This is a PC-based 3D video game released in 2017 where you are a ninja rabbit who fights other animals that have enslaved his fellow rabbits.
Pass.
No idea. Perfect. All right. This type of wall is built to hold back soil, prevent erosion, or manage steep slopes.
Oh my gosh, I should know this. It seems like such an easy term. We'll pass. The clock's getting me.
The clock gets you. All right. This is a common term for moving molten rock that results from a volcanic explosion.
Shoveling.
All right. Please name any volcano.
I don't think these questions are fair.
Fair. All right, let's keep going. This 1998 movie, Chris Tucker memorably asks Jackie Chan, "Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?"
Rush Hour.
This MTV show was a cultural phenomenon where Johnny Knoxville and friends would engage in crazy and often painful stunts.
Jackass.
This dramedy show that followed the lives of young doctors was canceled in 2010, but a reboot is planned for February of 2026.
I want to say Grey's Anatomy. I've never seen it, but it sounds like it could fit that.
2 of the films of this enormously popular franchise are said to have the 2 most expensive production costs ever.
Does that have anything to do with what's on your back wall? On your whiteboard?
Oh, no, maybe.
I'll go with Marvel then, because Marvel is usually expensive.
And if we had any sort of budget for this production, what song would you want to be used in our podcast intro and outro?
Oh my gosh. Have you ever heard of I Believe in a Thing Called Love?
Yes. All right.
I looked at a picture of my husband, and that's what I thought of. So I'm like, that's a fun one.
Love it.
Wow, I did terrible.
It's hard. Some were meant to be hard too, but it was hard. All right, let's debrief on this now, and we'll kind of run through this and how we're tying this all in. So first one is cylindrical structure where Farmer Joe stores the feed for his livestock. Silo. So let's correct. Nice work right off the bat. Want to make you feel comfortable and then make you feel really uncomfortable after that. So let's start with, we talk about when a nonprofit is ready, like we talked about, to get a CRM or get into a new one, right? And this is what I'm going to refer to as like the symptoms that a nonprofit is ready. Mm-hmm. And one of those, like the first one that we kind of talked about, was having data or too many things in a silo. So talk me through that one a little bit.
Yeah, so data silos essentially are when your information is scattered across multiple platforms, maybe multiple spreadsheets, just different areas of the organization. So the reason that it's called a data silo is because it's usually in that one spot. It's not all together in a singular area. And that can cause so many challenges because one person might know different information about a donor or supporter than another person knows. Or, as I'm sure you've experienced with the finance side, is your CRM and your finance software platform doesn't talk to each other. So that's a silo when things aren't communicating or aren't together.
Right. And I totally agree with that. And I think like data silos are a problem. I think people or departmental silos are a problem. Yeah. You know, greater thoughts for a nonprofit organization. So yeah, right. If you are struggling with this and it is not easy for the person in the role that they're in to get the information that they need, that would be considered like, hey, you have this silo for your organization and you're probably ready for another step to make that better or problem solve that.
Right.
Cool. Okay. Sticking with the indicators or symptoms when your nonprofit needs this PC game where you are a ninja rabbit, and I've never heard of this one either. So if you would have got this, I would have been
Did
surprised.
you play this or?
No, I did not. But I was just looking for terms I could drive this. And I also loved it that you're a 3D ninja rabbit that's fighting other animals because your rabbits are enslaved. That to me was fantastic. Actually called Overgrowth.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
Is the name of the game. I saw like good reviews out there too from what I've seen.
Nice.
But really, like the next kind of symptom they're talking about if you're nonprofit, you're ready to make the next step is if you have outgrown your current tools. So talk about that one, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if you're in a spreadsheet and it is, taking you way too long to find information, or you have way too many copies of the same spreadsheet, like pretty strong indicator.
Yeah.
You could also need more user access. So some platforms you can only have maybe 2 to 3 users. So let's say you're starting to grow your nonprofit and you have more team members coming in, more roles being developed, and now you need more users. Maybe your tool doesn't have certain capabilities or functionalities, such as advanced reporting. Some tools are pretty baseline where they don't even have what's called a query. So the ability to kind of search more granularly and build out different reports. So just kind of paying attention to what you currently have and what you're trying to get to. Are you trying to reach more people and you can't? Are you trying to perform certain functionalities and you can't? So just really kind of that restrictiveness.
I love, like, I'm a spreadsheet guy. I actually own the domain spreadsheetmylife.com because my wife gives me a hard time is even when I get a grocery list, I put it in a spreadsheet to make sure I have like if I'm in the produce department, I'm getting everything on that list and getting out of there so that I'm very efficient and I don't have to come back to any place in the zoo that is the grocery store usually.
It is.
Yeah. And I think, so I looked, the Excel limit right now for the number of rows is 1,048,576 rows. If you have that many donors, bless your heart that you're exceeding that. But I think the way they think about the data limitation here is really the columns. Like, what are the attributes that you're trying to track? And when you have just 1,000 of those, right, and you have so many of them that you're trying to add, it gets to be a big issue. And then the other thing I like that you said too was the roles. Right. And I think along with having the right like number of seats and all of that too, but do you have the right access points out there? So like some of this information needs to be shrouded for whatever reason for some people in the organization for many reasons. Right. And I am big on like getting all the information out there as much as possible, but there could be specific donor information that should not be widely available at your organization. So having that ability to customize roles or at least have a lot of options that you'd have your admins and your super users and then your like daily users and all of that stuff. So I think that's a huge thing as well.
Well, and then too with the roles, if you're bringing in more fundraisers, like you were saying with donors, what if, one fundraiser has already reached out and they just haven't put their notes in to the spreadsheet yet? Well, then here we are.
Yeah, and nothing makes you look bad like an organization that 2 different people reaching out to the same donor and be like, hey, I just talked to you guys. Are they going to think that you have your act together and want to be a significant donor for you? Probably not.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Number 3, this type of wall is built to hold back soil, prevent erosion, things like that. That would be a retaining wall.
I was going to say, like, I should know this. This seems so simple. It was the clock. The clock got me.
Clock. So it makes it so hard. So the other one, next kind of symptom that I want to talk through is donor retention. So if that is struggling, so what are your thoughts on that one?
Yes. So again, this kind of goes back to how are you tracking your data? So are you able to, in your current tool, your spreadsheet, track things like their personalized communication, their interests, their giving history, the analysis of the patterns of that history, their journey and story with your organization? That's a big one for me, is your donor's journey. And being able to track and easily see that story and that journey is really difficult if you don't have the right tool. So having like something where you can see the donor dashboard, so you can see, yep, they've given this many times, they're interested in this program, they've attended this event, they volunteered with us. When you're in the wrong tool or a spreadsheet or nothing at all, you have to click around a lot. You have to try to dig for that information before you can even reach out to that donor and say, hey, I saw that you gave to this campaign recently. Tell me more about what piqued your interest. And then again, capturing that conversation, really being able to build that relationship to retain that donor, because nonprofit and is very relational. You need to have that capability. So
Yeah, keeping that engagement level high, and also like segmenting your donors, right? Is like
yes.
what, are what you talked about, a lot of things that they could have been a part of or engaged in, things like that. You natively want to start bucketing them, as like impersonal as that sounds, but like bucketing them to like, hey, here's where we want to reach out to this people at this time because we know they're passionate about this thing, so forth. So
Yeah, and it can seem impersonal to kind of talk about it that way, but if you think about it this way, if your personal calendar, how many people's birthdays do you have in there? Is it impersonal for you to document that? How many I'm sure you have like a list somewhere of what your family members like when when it's Christmas time or time to start shopping for something. You're like, oh, what kind of candy bar did they like again, or something like that? This is kind of the same thing, just on a much, much larger scale. These are people who are important to you, who you want to remember those important details so that they know that they're important to you and that you can kind of build off of that.
right. Yeah. Those attributes where you can immediately connect with them when you're reaching out. What college did they go to? Where do they live? Are they passionate about this thing? That's huge, huge in
Yes,
building the relationship.
absolutely.
Yeah, love it. Okay. Number 4, common term for moving molten rock that results from a volcanic explosion, a lava flow.
It's just like, I don't know.
No pressure.
These seem so like simple in the moment. Like,
Yeah,
wow,
they
I feel
do.
really dumb for not knowing this.
And like it throws you off, and the intent is not, and I know you're going to do this to me eventually too, the intent is not for make us, anybody or a guest, look stupid, right? It's so hard, but it just yeah, just kind of fun thing to do out there.
It was fun.
See people sweat. So last thing, kind of talking about around like key indicators or symptoms, you need this, is clunky workflows.
Yes, yes. So workflows and systems. So when I say systems, I'm not talking just about the software or platform that you're using. I'm talking about your system as a whole. What is your organization's process for something? When you get a new donor in, are they put into a new donor workflow? Do they, get a letter? Do they get an email? Do they get a phone call? Is there a certain dollar amount where there's a personalized thank you, or a fundraiser reaches out, or something
Yeah.
of that nature? So having clunky workflows can really make it so like staff are spending way too much time doing manual stuff, manual data entry, manual trying to search for those attributes, those, conversation pieces, things like that. And then trying to track it all, right? So again, just going back to the spreadsheets, because I just feel like a lot of people start in spreadsheets. If
Mm-hmm.
you have a million tabs on this donor and you're trying to track, okay, when did I send this thank you? When did I do this phone call? When's our next meeting? When's my next action? What did we talk about? What are the notes? When, there are so many fields that go into tracking data properly. And there are certain ways that are good and efficient, and there are definitely certain ways where it's not. And so if it's clunky, if it's hard to manage, if you're getting frustrated by spending too much time in it, it's probably time to move into something else.
Right. And when we start looking at these tools too, I love this one, as well as like what fields are all available. And sometimes you get field overkill too, right?
Yes.
Like if they have mandatory ones out there for so many things, but also is it enough, right? That you have this in one place to easily look at things. So totally agree there.
Yeah, those customized fields can get crazy sometimes.
Yeah. And like when you do a custom, we're going to get into this too. When you get a customized field, make sure you align on like what everybody's using that for and what you're trying to, yeah.
Yep. Or make sure that there's not already a system field that exists that can perform the same function. I find that
Right.
a lot too, is people will create all these customized fields. And this system already has it somewhere. They just didn't know it. Or they created it when the system was still growing. And so then they did eventually add that field. Well, now you have this customized field and the system field. All
Right.
sorts of stuff we can talk about.
Right. Totally agree. Okay, number 5, name of a volcano. This one was just for fun in there. This one's hard too. I was trying to think if I'd be able to answer this, and I had the luxury of going out there and Googling it too. But some of the big ones like Vesuvius that killed Pompeii in Italy, Mount Fuji. I think the biggest one in Hawaii is Kilauea, right? I think his name. Anyway.
You're asking the person that didn't even answer the question.
Right. Just throwing out some examples that were out there, but I don't know if I would have got that one either. All right, so let's move on to next question, and then we'll talk about why. So the Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan movie. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Ian, can you hit me with a clip?
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
We will reference Ian in this podcast. He is our editor and producer and makes us sound way better than we probably sound when we're trying to do this live. Also a great movie. So yes, you said Rush Hour. It is Rush Hour. I think there were 3 or 4 of those too in their heyday that they came out with a bunch of them. So the next thing is when to plan to do this, right? So you don't want to rush the process of you're going to do this. What is a good window when you're going to plan on doing this? How much time should you plan out for that timeline? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's recommended to start planning the migration around 9 to 12 months before your current contract ends. And the reason for so much time is there's a lot of steps that you got to take beforehand. You're going to have to do your demos and your research to see which ones you're interested in. You're going to have to do your CRM requirements gathering with your team. Get your team together. Ask them, what is a need? What is a must-have? What is a would like to have? Document that. Start getting that ideas of what we're looking for as far as growth. You know, where are we now? How are we growing? And where would we like to be? And make sure that you pick a system that can grow with that. So you're not having to constantly do more migrations. You're 99% probably going to have to do a data cleanup. Data gets dirty, and especially if you don't have any data management practices in place, or if you're, again, kind of building that out, what that looks like, you're probably going to have to clean. And all that takes time, getting everyone together for meetings, talking through things, collaborating. So just giving your team time to adjust to the idea of even doing a migration, making sure that everyone's wants and needs are heard so that you don't have a lot of friction when it comes to migration time, because there's a lot of challenges when it comes to change depending on the size of your nonprofit and organization. And then making sure you have good leaders in place who can kind of help spearhead some of these things, who can ask the right questions, who can kind of project manage essentially. So yeah, just takes a lot of time. Do it slow. Don't rush. Absolutely don't rush.
Right. And just my 2 cents on this too, like you said, like when you're ready to change or when you're ready to put it in the first time.
Yep.
Right. And I also be really mindful of when is your busiest time. Right. So a lot of organizations are super busy at the end of the year trying to get everybody's charitable giving coming into their space. Right. So be very mindful of that. And the last thing you would want, you know, right now, this is probably dropping in March 2026 or close. Like if you were going to start it in January, might be a good time to start. But then also you should say, like, I want everything done by October or whatever, or September, or most things in place so you can really focus on your main push for donations towards the end of the year.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, next one, the MTV show that was the cultural phenomenon, Johnny Knoxville and Friends. You correctly said Jackass. We will cuss sometimes on this one. Ian may beep us out, but either way, you'll know what we're saying. So with this one, moving on, like what are the key steps for you to prepare for this? And how I tied this one, you need to assess your needs, right?
Yep.
Like pull that together. I'll let you riff on that one first.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of, again, going back to that CRM requirements gathering with your team. Talk about what you need. Do you need a fundraising module? Do you need a volunteer module? Do you need marketing tools? Do you need integrations? What integrations do you need? Do you need events software? Events is a big sticking point that I hear a lot of, because a lot of native event modules and platforms typically don't have seating or sometimes they don't have silent auction, or there's usually a piece missing always. And so there's, make sure it integrates, or make sure you have an import export plan. Again, with that growth, what size do you need? Is your tool basic and can only hold so many contacts, or can you grow? So yeah, that's kind of where I would start. What do you have?
Yeah, I agree. And when you were kind of going through that list, and one of the pieces I thought too is you talked about like raffles and silent auctions and all that stuff too. Like on the finance side, really clearly need to know like in-kind donations versus cash donations versus service donations, all that stuff. That's really important on the finance side too. So
yes,
all the rest
and I don't know for you if it matters so much, but being able to capture sales tax or fees, that's a common one I run into a lot, is when you're reconciling, being able to take out what was the platform fee versus what was the actual donation.
Yeah. And I can't wait to dig into some of this stuff more because I have a lot of thoughts too.
Yes.
Yeah, future episode. All right, next one is, so this dramedy show followed the lives of young doctors. It was canceled in 2010. Coming up for a reboot here in February 26. Grey's Anatomy's still on. I think it's been on. Yeah, I think I've never seen an episode either. So we're aligned there. I think it's been on for like 15 seasons or something.
Ridiculously long time.
Ridiculously long time. I remember back when it was Dr. Dreamy and Dr. Steamy or something, and whose side you were on. Oh god.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I had nothing there. So the one I was looking for was Scrubs.
Oh, I love Scrubs.
I love Scrubs too, and I'm excited they're coming back with that. And I was like, oh, I got to go back and watch all the old episodes now.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know they were coming back out with that. That's exciting.
Yeah, starting soon.
My question is concerning metabolic diseases.
Yeah, so I pulled this one up there as you talked about cleaning up old data, or I call that scrubbing the old data, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to hear you about on this one, and then I might fight you out a little bit on this one. So let's hear what you got first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this really is dependent on how many records you have, right? So if you're a new nonprofit and you have a spreadsheet with 50 contacts, probably a bit easier than some other nonprofits who are small to mid-size and still have, 200,000 contacts.
Right.
But one of my pet peeves, this is a personal opinion, one of my pet peeves are the titles. The Mr., the Mrs., the Miss, because everyone that I've seen, every nonprofit that I've worked with, they always have just this weird mix of them. Like some is Mr. with no period, and some is Mr. with a period, and some is spelled out, and some aren't lined up. Sometimes you have a Mr. and a Miss, and I'm like, well, they're clearly married. So one of my bigger recommendations most of the time is just get rid of them. They know who they are. They know, they know what they are. They don't need it. Now, doctor, chaplain, pastor, that stuff, of course, keep, of course. Yeah. But that's usually one that I end up like diving in to clean up. I'm like, nope, goodbye.
Yeah.
But capitalization, I see a lot. Okay, there's proper casing. You can quickly do it in Excel while you're importing, transferring data. Please, please, please stop capsing everything or mashing it. Sometimes you have one line that's capsed and one that's proper or completely lowercase. Drives me nuts. So just trying to find those little nuances where your data is consistent. Those aren't necessarily clean per se, but your phone numbers, your emails, your addresses, if you can find a tool where you can get NCOA or pay for updated emails or something of that nature, or maybe even talk to the platform you're going into. Maybe they have a service that you can just kind of add on and just say, hey, can you enhance these or validate these or what have you? But the contact information is huge. And then this is also where building some of those data management practices will come into place as you're talking through how to clean it up. How are you going to keep it clean going forward?
Right.
And then build off of that. So curious to see what you have.
Yeah. Before I get to that, like the one other thing, and you talk about the new tools too, is having drop downs, especially if you're doing that Mr. Mrs. or whatever, like you can't free text that.
Yes.
You have very selected ones that you can pick from and rely on for consistency. So I totally agree with you when you're coming from like a spreadsheet process into a tool. What about if you're going from an older tool to a newer tool? Mm-hmm. You go through the same process. Like let's scrub all the stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, same process, scrub everything, and then make sure you're asking the representatives of the tool you're going into to
Yeah.
really describe those fields. You're going to have to do field mapping because that's how they're going to transfer your data. That's how they're going to migrate it. So if they don't have a title box with a drop down, well, then what are your options? And which ones are you, transferring over? Which ones are you not? Still definitely clean all that up. And then the nice thing too is a lot of the migrations will offer like deduping. So getting rid of your duplicate contacts, deduping, deduplicating.
Deduping?
Yeah,
I never
deduping.
heard that term. I like that. Deduping.
So they'll help you kind of look for, this person, his name is Bob Olson here, but Robert Olson here, but I see they have the same contact information. This is probably a duplicate, and then merge them.
Right.
So that's kind of a nice feature. A lot of places offer that, but some don't. So those are things you're going to have to keep in mind. There are tons of questions that you're going to have to ask. This is why it's so important to have kind of that project manager person and somebody who really understands the data, being able to get it to the right place, get it to work how you want it to work, because your reports and exports and analytics, everything's going to revolve around where the data is, how it's stored, how the fields look, everything.
Yeah, and before I even go on my rant, like keep talking about the people, and if you ever work through like project management stuff, it is good to identify roles, like who's your sponsor, like the leader driving it, who's the manager that's really responsible,
Yes.
subject matter experts, team lead or team members, all of that stuff.
And how's training going to go? Is the CRM that you're going into, are they going to be responsible for training your staff members? Are you going to pay for extra training, or are you going to have that SME, that subject matter expert, who's then going to in turn go train all of your people?
Right.
And again, based on roles, what are they training on? Are they training a fundraiser just to use fundraising stuff? Are they going to be using reports? Are they going to be building their own queries? So a lot to consider, a lot to talk through. Again, why we don't want to rush.
Right. Have that timeline. So my point on the like transitioning systems, and this is a little different, right? So I'm accountant and pretty much only use QuickBooks, but we do a lot of transitions from the old desktop software to the new online module. Desktop is getting sunsetted. That's both a money decision by Intuit that owns QuickBooks, because the online one is a regular subscription monthly, whereas the other one's like a pay annually thing. So it helps their cash flow. But I know a lot of people in our space, there's like, hey, you have to go and clean up the desktop data before you bring it into online. And I think this is really, like, if we're talking about CRMs, it's really your comfortability with the tools, because I can go and spend 15 hours to go through desktop and it's terrible processes and try to clean that up, or I can bring it over and I could probably do the same thing in 2 or 3 hours going through all the things there. So gotcha. I just think that needs to be a consideration. Like, if you are comfortable, and again, there are probably a lot of nonprofit professionals or consultants where it's like, hey, these are the tools that I'm comfortable with. They should work. This is a good match. Make sure you're picking the tools that match for you. I wanted to do some data scrubbing here, or maybe all of it here, but if I can do that quicker when it's in the new system, I may do that as well. So that's my only kind of hot
take. And that's kind of why I brought up asking what the new platform can do for you. Can they do a deduping process? Can they do an NCOA run? Can they do enhancement features? Can they help you clean your data as they transfer it? And you might have to pay extra for it, but if that's something that you're willing to pay extra for to not spend the man hours on, then absolutely. Or if they don't offer it, then you're going to have to allocate man hours to manually doing that, or finding another tool to do it for you before you put that data over.
Yeah, totally agree. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next one. Again, thinking about our last kind of point we want to make on steps in preparation for this transition. So the question here, the 2 films of this normally popular franchise are said to have the 2 most expensive production costs. You said Marvel. I was going for Star Wars.
Oh, darn.
Marvel had several in the top 10 too. And like some of these lists are like, are you talking actual costs or their budget, and like Avatar's in there, and some of the Pirates of the Caribbeans and stuff are up there too. But at least the list that I found was like The Force Awakens was almost 450 million. Rise of Skywalker was 416. I think they were the only ones that had over $400 million budget. And I'm sure they still like returned 3 times that with how popular things are.
Yeah.
But then I want to talk about the next part is like both budget, and then we already touched on this a little bit, timeline. So maybe we don't need to talk about that as much, but really your budget. So what are your thoughts there?
So the budget, obviously, you're going to want to talk about beforehand. Do you need board approval for your budget? Do you have to have a board meeting? Do you have to present? Do you have to gather all that? And again, with the external tools, is the CRM going to be capable of doing everything, or do you need to add like a constant contact or a Q give or something else to kind of help bring that all together and tie it together? And do you need an integration tool? Do you need a third-party integration tool? Do you need like Omatic or something else to integrate? So lots of budget line items that you're going to need to consider and discuss beforehand. And then the timeline on this aspect is a little different. So 9 to 12 months before you start moving, but also how long does the integration and migration take? As they're migrating data, is your system going to be down for a while? Are you going to have to do it piecemeal, or are you going to do it in, this contacts first, or households first, or organizations first, or portfolios? Maybe you're doing it by fundraiser portfolio, get one fundraiser in there at a time. So lots of strategy there for sure. But expect maybe 18 to 26 weeks for implementation, because it also depends on how fast the platform's team works as that you're going into. So yeah, lots.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking budget, so you're talking my love language, Summer. I love that. And you're going to hear people that are avid listeners, and hopefully we'll have a lot at some point, but are going to get sick of me saying this. Get your finance team involved in anything where it involves money, right? Like, okay, you're going to budget this. Let me, as your finance person, give you dictation on like, all right, who's part of the team? How much time are they putting into this? Yeah. What are the costs for contracted help? What is the cost for the tools we're looking at? All of that stuff. And then also like, how much of this is administrative costs versus fundraising costs versus all that stuff, because that's really important for your filings and compliance.
Yep. And one-time costs versus annual costs. Usually there's an onboarding fee or a training fee or a migration fee, and then your annual subscription. Or sometimes they'll do where you can pay monthly instead of annually. And again, another decision to talk to your finance team about. Does it make sense for us to pay monthly or annually? Or maybe we've paid the whole 3 years. Who knows? Right. So yeah, definitely get your finance team involved. And also to make sure that the integration piece will work with whatever software they're using. I know Sage is a big one. QuickBooks is a big one. And I haven't seen a lot that don't offer integration with QuickBooks, but sometimes with the Sage, I think again it might take that third-party connector to actually talk to one another. So
right. And one other note I'll make with that is there may be grant dollars available for you to make this change as well. I know we get that a lot on the finance side, is like, hey, we need better systems to grow our organization and become more effective and better deliver on our mission. There are technology grants out there for instituting new software, and I got to think the CRM process would be included in that as well. But we've been involved with a lot of clients where it's like, hey, we need a better accounting system, and they've gotten $5,000 or 10 or 20 or whatever, right, just to support that effort, which is pretty cool. So it takes a little bit of the burden off of their internal finances as well.
Or maybe even a major donor. Maybe you have, a donor that's really passionate about what you do, that wants to see you grow and help your organization grow. And exactly like you're saying, just say, hey, we're growing and we need more tools and we need to expand here. And maybe that's a board meeting with your major donor. So you present it to everyone at the same time.
Yeah. Love it. Cool. All right. And I think that was our last meat of the question. Last one, I gave you a freebie, right? Like if we had a budget, which we don't, of course, for this podcast, what song would you want to be in the intro and outro? Love your answer. I believe in a thing called Love by the
oh man.
The Darkness.
Yes. It's like
The Darkness. And like just one of the best guitar riffs ever. I was weird.
So good.
Weird story. I was touring with my son, who was in a touring boys choir, and we were in Bergen, Norway, and they were having a music festival, and they actually played, but it was the day before we got there. And I'm like, oh, that would have been awesome to find tickets to go see The Darkness in Norway.
Oh my gosh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, super cool. I threw out a couple options that I went a little more funky than rock, but I could see like Rusted Roots, Send Me On Your Way.
Okay.
If you know that song, funny, or like Paul Simon, You Can Call Me Al. But we picked what we picked at this point. May change, but I don't think we're getting dollars to get rights to regular songs anytime soon.
No,
Yeah.
but that would be fun.
That would be maybe someday. We'll get some sponsors. We'll get in here. It's fine. All right. Well, that was a lot. I think you got 4 out of the 10 right. Not bad. So just for our listeners, right, maybe if you could just sum up, like what do we just kind of talk about? Give a quick hit list of the things you should be thinking about when you're getting your first or transitioning to a new CRM.
Definitely. So again, just kind of recapping, you're going to know you're ready for either getting into a CRM or maybe changing CRMs if your data is all over the place. Fundraising is getting bigger and harder to manage. Communication is inconsistent or delayed. Reporting feels like a guessing game. Manual errors are costing you time and trust. Your team is growing and so are the handovers or exchange of information. Or your current systems are outdated and holding you back.
Love it. Okay, well, I think that's what we have today, right? I think it was a great conversation. If you have anything to add as a listener, would love for you to reach out. You can reach us at unchartedpodcast.org. We're also going to be in the Facebook and LinkedIn world eventually if we're not there yet. But hopefully if you're listening to this, we got that set up. But love your thoughts on this. Anything we may have missed, anything that you have thoughts on, please reach out. Send us some comments, send us some messages. We'd love to hear whatever you got to say too. I think with that, we're done with number 2.
Woo-woo.
All right. See you next time, Summer.
See ya.